Welcome to the No Ideas Original Podcast, episode 159, featuring Shannon, Mr. Rob, and Ken. What up, y'all? How y'all doing?
It's good.
What's good? What's good? I'm great, bro. I feel good.
Ain't nothing. Yo, y'all up for y'all want a peanut butter jelly? And what is that? A jelly, bologna, and
Yeah,
no glizzy.
some glizzies for dinner
No
afterwards.
glizzy. Don't do without the glizzy, son.
yo, I was so to let the audience in on the joke. I was telling them I went down to Maryland on Wednesday to visit my grandma. She's down in a home down there, and she was talking to me about, like, I guess, like the food that's on the menu. And she said that one night for dinner they fed her a piece of candy, a bologna sandwich with jelly, and they keep serving hot dogs. Yeah, I initially I believed what she was saying until she told me that my aunt was standing right there and witnessed them feed her this meal. And at that point, that's when I realized that, she may be embellishing a little bit on the meal, but that's what my week consisted of, taking a trip down to Maryland. And other than that, just the regular stuff. What's up with y'all? What y'all been up to?
Man, nothing much really, man. I had a doctor's appointment today that went pretty well. No, it's still good. My kid.
You don't seem excited about it.
Listen, because I get it's routine now, and the thing now is just about staying the course now. I think I've gotten past all the preliminaries and all of the red tape. Now I'm more flying. It's just a matter of now I kind of got to keep my weight down a little bit because I'm getting happy eating. I tell you, man, not having some of the guilty pleasures that you used to having for over 5 years, and then you reemerge back into it, you'd be like, God, man, I really miss this food, bro.
Yeah, but yo, I always tell you though, man, the thing is, you've already demonstrated that you got the discipline to go without it.
Yeah.
Right, I got the discipline. Let me tell you something, and that's my testimony, man. I don't think there's anything that I can't apply at this point because I've applied my faith, I've applied some patience, a lot of patience, and some will to get to where I am. So I'm a great
That's great.
right about that. Thank you, bro.
Have y'all been training for the Spartan race thing?
I haven't.
Me either.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't. But my goal is to at least when the weather starts picking up a little better, I do walk with the dogs. So that gives me some sort of cardio. And I make sure I'm out there for at least half hour, 45 minutes. They're tired as hell when I come home, so I know how to do the job. When I come home, the dogs go to sleep.
Yo, because we keep getting hit up now with these offers and people talking about they're gonna sponsor us to run this Spartan race, and I'm like, I gotta fill these people off. Like, hold on, we was just talking.
Yeah, so
we got one race, but we ain't joining the circuit.
And now we're going polar plunge and decathlons and shit. Like, hold on, bro. I just had a kidney transplant a year ago. Like,
Nah, I'm definitely gonna do one though. But we do get a lot of people soliciting us now, saying that they want us to do it. So, all right. So let's get to the show tonight. Episode 159. Salih Bey in the building. Yo, I gotta say a couple of things before we bring the brother to the stage. So we had opportunity to meet him for the first time when we went to
Corner
DJFX Corner Social. Yeah, his birthday party. Pulled up and sat down and just builded with him. And the brother just had he just had real good energy. Like, I got a real good vibe from him or whatever. So, we kicked it that day. And I remember, talking to them behind the scenes and, telling them, we working on the project and everything. And, I told him like, yo, what's up? We need a record or something like that. And sure enough, he called me up. I played some tracks for him. And I think, he could confirm when he come on, I think probably in less than a week, he had recorded 2 records for us. Like the pen was on fire right out the gate, consummate professional. But what the main thing though that stood out to me about him is that one of the things, and I hope he remembers this, one of the things that he said to me when we were sitting down talking, he was like, yo, I had the opportunity to see the podcast a couple of times and I saw you brothers. And he said, I said to myself, I'm gonna be on that podcast. Come on that podcast. And then now for him to actually actualize that and then now be here joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Salih Bey. Yo, you remember that when you told me that?
Man. Actually, man, me and my manager was standing outside of the spot for effects. for his party, and y'all pulled up. At first,
You know what's up? He's like,
I was like, "Yo, I know you guys," you know what I'm saying? Because I had checked in on a couple of y'all episodes, and I couldn't remember where. And then when y'all told me, I was like, y'all like starstruck me the way y'all do your thing. So, I'm just grateful finally to get here. You know what I'm saying? So
we're happy to have you, bro.
Good to have you.
Word, that's a fact. We happy to have you. Yo, let's get right to it. I want you to talk to us what it was like growing up in Queens, because you grew up in Queens, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm from the bush. Yeah, I'm from the bush, definitely. Southside, I mean, it was an amazing experience. Nostalgic most of the time over it. I haven't begun to start writing about it yet. I mean, wow. I mean, everything from Supreme Team to Cop Killer Queens being labeled that.
Right.
The colonialism within the boroughs.
Right.
We had the overshadow of Queens keep on faking it. Like us.
No hard feelings, son. No hard feelings. We brought
It's all good. That plagued us. It's just noticing now something Boulevard, everything was black owned, black businesses back then, which we kind of neglected. We really didn't pay attention to it. Well, I didn't. I was the youth then. Seeing it now the way it is, gentrified for real.
Is the Coliseum in South Jamaica?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, that's still standing.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the Woo for doing cream in front of that joint. You know what I mean?
How about that? Yeah.
Yeah. But if you ask me, I mean Johnny Pumps and Sprinklers, residential areas. I'm grateful to come from that side of things. I love South Jamaica Queens. It's a little different now, but we live with it. Keep the women with us.
It's important though for we're all four of us in New York products, right? So we know how the inner workings of how like the boroughs move and stuff like that. Like, but for the people that are watching this or that may watch this later, tell them, I guess, like the distinction between South Side, because for a long time there's a lot of people that think Queens is only Queensbridge, right?
What I would say about that is you know how they say Far Rock is its own place space. South Side, I mean, any south of any area always have the we put our foot in the mud. South Side just has always been South Jamaica Queens. It's just like, we had some legends come out of here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of legends, and I don't know. It's just always been different, and we always placed ourselves in a demographic of just being South Jamaica Queens. Anywhere we went, it was just that. Like we rep Queens from a different aspect. You know what I'm saying? But it, Nas broke out. He broke out, and Queensbridge blew up. Sham blew it up too. You know what I'm saying? So when we got our turn, I don't know. We held on to it. Shout out to 50 Cent for that. Cheeks, we had Cheeks come out of here. We had Onyx come out of here.
So we named Tribe, LL,
Tribe, a lot of
Professor. I mean,
yes,
the list goes on, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Rob.
Damn, I lost train of thought real quick. That's crazy. Thank you for being here, bro.
Thank you for having me, bro. For real.
Your name, pronounce your name correctly to me.
Salih Bey. Salih Bey.
Is there a meaning to Salih?
Yes, Salih means be kind to the generous.
How about that?
The gentle, pardon me.
Right. And that reads you right. Does that your name and your following, does that blend into what you do musically?
Yes. I actually reinvented myself after I proclaimed my nationality and took on the appellation. I registered my own tribe. That's what the production company is about, More to Life. You see it spelled differently. I represent the Moors. I'm still in practice with that, still in study. But I try to project that. I mean, Al Islam is Al Islam. You know, it's different sets of Islam, and so you know, you mesh them all together, and it gives you a lot of the piece of the puzzle. We represent Buddhism, Christianity, Confucius,
Hindu.
We balance it all out. I mean, it's just a study of history and the documents, and trying to represent our people to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's all about for me.
Go ahead, Ken.
So I think listen, you being on here again is great, but you got to tell people about all the different hats you wear. See, you wear a lot of hats, my man.
Oh man, I got that LL complex sometimes, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm bald under here, so you know, most of the time my hats are just because of the outfit that I'm wearing. I'm old school, so I try to stay color coordinated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got a matching. So now I'm gonna take it to the other thing. So now we know about the hats. But tell me about the different things you got your hands in, because you got your hands in a lot of things.
I mean, my baby is the production company.
Okay.
We've been around for a year now, and we're making some ground. We had a couple of releases. We actually have a release coming Sunday. The record it was picked up for police brutality. The name of the record is Black Rage. Shout out to Mad Villain. He's on that record. Shout out to Baby Paul for that, because you know, he got that placement for me. Dope record. It's a good feel record. I didn't do too much to it, just the hook. You know, I was sitting at home one night in the middle of the night, and I think, you know, I just was sitting there and I just thought about it, like, you know, Black Rage. You know, that's something that was fed to us, you know, due to white supremacy and what we've been through and what they keep feeding us every year, once a month. So I wanted to give. I kind of went with that record where I wanted people to recite. You know, we recite records, so I wanted them to recite what I wanted them to release. So. Right. When you hit a record, people like the record. I was surprised when I went in the studio. I had a couple of young boys with me, and I'm very shy when it comes to my music. So, you know, they was like, I heard one of the kids, they spoke out loud. He was like, "Yo, this record is dope." And I looked over. I was like, "For real?" It was like, "Yeah, can't wait to hear it." I'm shocked. Like, "Oh shit! All right, so let's do it." But yeah, man. So is the production company. I'm executive producing a couple of projects due to the production company. I work tight.
You produce too, huh?
No, I don't produce. I executive produce. That means that I bring
people
together. Yeah.
Let's get this right? So,
gathering them.
Yeah, I gather the producers and the artists, and, you know, broker the deals, get them with, you know, because we have this thing where the youth, they don't really deal with the elders a lot, as far as the hip hop culture is concerned. So what I'm doing is bringing like a lot of the old school producers. I'm bringing them to the forefront to get work with some of the younger guys. And you know, shout out to Bookworm on that. He got a couple of dope records. I did it for my own project. I Force MDs, UMCs. Shout out to UMCs. Who else?
You said you got the Force MDs?
Yeah, I got a record with Pleasant Russell. He was the drummer for those guys. Yeah. I try to, you know, for me, I'm blending. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get some of the history and get those guys some work and do something. You know, they're professionals. That's my whole thing. I love the brick and mortar studio. I love the essence of that. And I love the way, you know, the elders think and they work. They don't let you slack. So.
Yo, I'm going to hold on, Rob, because I know Rob.
I was going to
I knew it. Yeah.
Rob, that's right. You speaking of Rob?
I beat the signal too.
Rob, you speaking?
Yeah.
Yo, I know it's go ahead, Rob. Go ahead. Say it.
Now, I know we're all familiar with the passing of True God. I want to know your opinion on that, but also Maceo spoke kind of the same lines that you was talking, and he turned and gave Prince Paul his flowers. And he said, "This is my mentor. This guy used to give us lessons and pretty much to take them home like homework." Right. So when they got so good at what they did, they would come knock out a song and had all this free time.
Right.
Be creative.
Right.
And he told me, he said, "Yo, Prince, yo, you made me a legend, and you're already a legend." Right. And when he said that to him, it just hit me like, that's what's missing. That guidance, that mentorship, that one-on-one with men or women or just us in a collective sharing ideas and being guided, and also just being accepting guidance. A lot of people don't want to accept the guidance from the elders, as well as the elders won't even pass down anything to anyone of the younger, so they don't think they want to listen to it. You know what I mean? When he said that, I thought that was so profound, because we don't have that. We don't have the camaraderie we need to have. And watching that, it's there, but it's not being presented and represented in a way where we can all see. You know what I mean? So I thought that's what lit me up, because I'm like, yo, the nigga Maceo just, you know, he kind of congratulated Prince Paul in his day. This is like they was honoring, you know, the 35 years of De La Soul not having their music. Yeah. And he first went to Prince Paul to thank him, because he's the one that mentored all three of us.
Right.
If it would be no De La Soul if it wasn't for Prince Paul. Right. You know, and I thought, when you hear that, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, you know, how many artists can say they can reach out their hand and say, that guy's responsible for my Grammy career or whatever the career is. You know what I mean? I thought
yo, Rob, you know where I thought you was going? I thought you was going down the lane where he said the brick and mortar joint about we got to be in the studio together, vibing to create.
No, and listen, and that in itself too, man. That's when the best chemistry comes out, is when you sit and you get the vibe with somebody. That's communication. You need to be there instead of emailing shit and sending shit through the wire and all that. Fuck all that, man. Get your ass up and go sit in the studio. Yo, learn that shit. I'm learning. I don't know nothing about production. I'm learning what stems are and all this other shit.
Right.
But you're not gonna get it unless you're there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So be present.
Rob, you know what you talking about? Years ago, people would go in the studio, right? And they would write and produce and make the music at the same time. So what would happen is, the beats that you had will be tailor-made for you. So so you had like a lot of producer artist relationships where this guy produced for this guy, and you wonder why it sounded so well, because everything that he did was around that particular person. They weren't like going out soliciting other guys. Like, this is my guy, and this
perfect example of that, Gangstar.
Yeah, that was primarily for Guru. It wasn't like he was out there soliciting other groups. He did stuff with other people, but his sound and the way him and Guru melded, because they spent hours in there together doing that.
Perfect example.
So let me ask you this. You know, one of the things that I appreciate about your music is that you kind of remind me of the era of enlightenment and fun. But somewhere along the lines, there was a shift in our music where it shifted from enlightenment and fun. Like we went to making records. Remember the X-Clan, the Public Enemy, Jungle Brothers, the De La. We went from all of that to making records solely about the harsh realities of our environment. What do you attribute that shift to?
The record execs. I mean, we all know that it's a plan, regardless of what. As far as it's real rap, is reality rap, is what they call it. The harsh realities are true. I mean, we there's many facets to life. We can't knock it. You have a decision to make. You know what I mean? As an artist, you have as a human being, as a consumer, you have a decision to make. Which side of the tracks you want to be on. It's no different from a comic book. Either you deal with the super villains or the superheroes. You know what I'm saying? So you know, I was on both sides. You know, I've been in a dark place when it came to my music. That also deals with intellect. You know what I'm saying? As you grow and you evolve, you mature spiritually. You kind of you change your idea. You see your perception changes. So there's a paradigm shift if you're willing to do it or you're willing to pay attention to that. Me right now, I'm like, I like good music. You know what I'm saying? But I listen when I hear something new. I pay attention to it because it's there for a reason, and everything has a code involved in it. And there's decoded in everything. So we just pay attention to where it's coming from, and is a part of the creation. One thing I think a lot of artists, creators should recognize is that it's not actually coming from you. You know, you're just a conduit. And if you're prepared for it, the universe will bless you with something to say. So.
About that.
Yeah, it's interesting though that you say like in terms of even the consumer piece, because one of the things that kind of stands out to me is that I do think that, you know, of course the recording industry promotes and pushes these records, but what does it say about us as consumers in terms of where our mindset or our thought process is at if these are primarily the records that we consume, you know? And again, I'm going back to thinking about, like, I grew up listening to, you know, X-Clan. I grew up where it was cool to have rhymes about being conscious, you know, but it was just a shift in everything. And sadly, like, yo, probably I would say like my favorite hip hop artist, Nas, I think is one of the people who kind of was at the forefront of leading that shift to go there where it was all about, all right, you know, Nas painted portraits with his rhymes where it was so vivid. If you grew up in the hood, it was like, oh, this dude is just talking about everything that we got going on in the hood. And then it moved away from the fun. It moved away from the enlightenment, or the people that were kicking rhymes that related to fun and enlightenment. They were sort of ostracized, or people stopped purchasing, you know, their music, which is unfortunate to me.
Right. I mean, it took us down. It took us down a journey that I mean, from KRS One and Scott LaRock's death to Ill Will, you know, it wasn't happening so rapidly.
Right.
And well, that comes from, I mean, if we get scientific, it comes from frequency, it comes from vibration.
That's right.
Is no different from, I mean, Pac is no different from Jesus Christ, you know, to the hip hop culture. And I say that to say, you know, they made it where, I mean, Tupac was 25 years old, and he had a lot of passion, and I would say a lot of traumas at the same time. He grew up with Black Rage, and so he had to make a decision. And a lot of artists are making the decision that, you know, this is what's going to sell. This is how I'm gonna, you know, stack my money. I think one of the most, I know he's the GOAT, like he's the greatest to ever do it. Jay-Z, he started out like that, you know what I mean? But he had a blueprint. And when you see him when you hear him on records now, he's dropping a lot of jewels and a lot of information, and he's more towards the people now. A lot of artists should pay attention to that and understand that, you know, even though Nas he definitely did the pretty gangster, you know what I mean?
Basketball, son. He was basketball time.
Yeah, but he definitely, I mean, he stands true to being a conscious lyricist at the same time. You know what I mean? And to be on stage right now and sell out Madison Square Garden at his age, you know, that says a lot. It says a lot for hip hop. You know, we wouldn't have thought we would be here. And we standing strong. And actually the diversity is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have ever thought this. From Sugar Hill to now, I wouldn't have thought this.
Yeah.
I think when Nas took the mantle, and he was so lyrically gifted that he was testing genres of music.
Yes.
At a time where, you know, when we were talking about conscious music, we was also anti-commercial. But if you're anti-commercial, you're anti-money. And, you know, right around that 93, 94, 95, of course, Mr. Sean Combs comes and, you know, the shiny shoes thing. Started to realize, hold on, but he's talking about frequency.
Yeah.
You're starting to realize that what you put in front of the people, if it's sensationalized enough and it catches their eye, then you got something, man. And Puffy was able to market and advertise as well as put out music because he was using all the old 70s. He was using
he was making it familiar.
Yeah, and he was killing the game with that. And I think even Jay Supreme said that, yo, we got to get back to the feel when Puffy had party's jumping and you was able to dance to a party. Now you go to a party, niggas is like this.
Right. Yeah, that lane.
Just staring at you with a drink in their hand.
Right.
Ain't nobody on the dance floor. Ain't nobody grab a girl or just two-step. I mean, some places you have that. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, you don't have a lot of it.
I mean, that whole lane is missing. I think, the whole feel-good part about music, at least rapping, is not there. Think about it. We stripped away a whole subset of people. You had the Jungle Buggers, Tribal Quest, De La Soul,
Black Sheep,
a whole group, just all kind of just got sucked up all at the same time. Within about a couple of years, they were all like out of the game.
Out of the game.
Because and then, when you talk about Jay-Z, remember Jay-Z even referenced in his rhyme where he said that he can't with the common sense reference.
I went around like common sense. Yeah.
So he once he got to a point where it didn't matter, like they couldn't take nothing away from him, he could do whatever he wanted to do.
Right.
But I think now, you just got everybody trying to this guy's hot, let me copy this guy, and we just keep making a bunch of replicas.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
it started to cascade a little bit from there because now everybody wants their own liquor, they want their own clothing line, they want these things, man. But you teaching anybody how to get that, or you just flashing it? Are you showing someone how to be an entrepreneur, or you just gloating over it? You know what I mean? And that's what I meant by the Prince Paul. Prince Paul had to show them dudes how to DJ, how to make a beat, how to construct a rhyme, what are four bars, what all that, what is cadence. Them dudes had to go home and do homework and bring it to the studio. That means you see somebody who is talented. Now with that talent, let me shape and form them. Let me give them the wisdom to shape and form them. So now they can come out and manifest as they are. Look who we got now. We got a legendary group, De La Soul. You know what I mean? So
Rob brought up something interesting about the merchandising and stuff. So Salih, tell me about those sweatshirts. Those different hoodies.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Right there, I want to say, yo, listen, bro. That we wore that same joint, that Common song, Dreamer.
Yeah.
That poem by Maya Angelou was one of my
unbelievable
poems, bro.
Yeah.
One of my best poems. And I say all the time on this show, we need to use our imaginations more. Dream, my nigga. I don't give a fuck if you sick, still dream.
Yes.
I mean, even at the mountaintop, still dream, bro. You know what I mean? I wanted to say that because I remember the sweatshirt and you were promoting it with that song in the back, son. So
right. I'll say this. One of my records, What If, I say imagination is the greatest nation. Shout out to RZA because he said that in one of the episodes of that Woo.
Oh, yeah.
So the sweatshirts, I just noticed, I think I saw it on Facebook. It was either on the gram or on Facebook. They showed how many rappers were murdered. And Kanye was going through that situation where it was like white lives matter. And it made me go, you know what? Rap lives matter, and we're not really paying attention to that. Like it's few and it's like rapidly, it's like becoming the fad. It's becoming the trend to have a rapper that is murdered by his own. So we just started doing that brand for a while. We put Rap Lives Matter on the front. We come with a nice little color scheme, and we throw the rapper on the back from Freaky Tah to Jam Master Jay, Tupac, Big, Nipsey, Offset. The list goes on. You know what I mean? There's been a couple of them recently. So Pop Smoke. So I just went with it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to do the merch thing too. At the same time, I'm not going to hold you, but it's going back to my company and getting us what we need, So,
sure. And then I saw you had another Black Lives Don't Matter.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Yeah. I wore that hoodie down in Virginia, man. It was amazing because I was in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I was down there for a show, and the person that was doing the show, shout out to Jamaica Terry, a dope poet. She told me that they was doing a mural. They did a mural on their wall. It was the first black mural in the town. So here I am showing up to this show with a Black Lives Don't Matter hoodie on. And after the show, shout out to Rockmore, I mean explosive artist as well. We went out, and so when we went out, everybody's seeing this, and they seeing this hoodie, and I got some Europeans that's walking up on me. Yo, I like your shirt. You like my shirt? It's a conversation. Let's have a conversation.
Talk about it, right?
But the thing about it is, amazingly enough, they understood where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Because on the back of the hoodie, it says 3/5 of a man, Chateau property.
Yeah.
But amazingly, I was at the rest stop and I think I was in Maryland House, and I saw some elders, and they frowned upon me.
Okay.
They didn't want to have the conversation. You know what I'm saying? And I get it though, because they came through the struggle, regardless of what we know now. They didn't have the internet. You know what I mean? They didn't have the science, and a lot of these body politics. They sold our people back into slavery. They gave us that African American and Black idea, and it sold us back into it. And we're talking about changing laws, and I mean, if we pay attention, natural law, it can't be changed. It is what it is and what it always was. And that's how these things are documented. The coloring of law documents these things based around that. So a lot of people ask me, you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give them some feel good music when I get on stage. I'm gonna give them conscious thought, and we can have a conversation. You know what I mean? As long as I'm gonna be able to make it out of there, I'm all right. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man. So what is it you think? Well, I mean, you mentioned a little bit, you said because you believe there were elders and that they went through, the struggle, that they weren't able to engage in a conversation. But what do you think of some of the other things that prevent people from kind of being willing to have these kind of conversations, right? Because Black Lives Matter was such popular terminology that to say Black Lives don't matter becomes polarizing for people, so in some regard, I think it's great because it is a good conversation starter, but there are some people that I don't think that their mindset can grasp the concept, this shirt that I'm wearing, is the intentions of it is for us to have a dialogue and speak more about this topic, right? What do you do with those people? How do you get them to actually understand that, no, this message is actually intended for us to have a discussion?
To be honest with you, dealing with the higher science, just the symbolism alone will hit your subconscious. And when you're ready for it, it'll come to you in your own time. I used to be one of those pump your fist guys and want to give you the information, but you have to be willing to be receptive. I think our people go through a lot of, being that we have the internet and can be informed, is a lot of information there. A lot of people take that on and they think they know, but it's trivial. It's trivial pursuit to me, especially if it's not applicable, if you're not really actually active, you know what I'm saying? So, for me, like I said, I think a lot of our people, I said it in Black Rage, cognitive dissonance has us all wrestling. I just seek refuge from restlessness. You know what I mean? We've been having the same conversation for how long about our people?
Forever.
I do see a lot of us banding together and cultivating just this platform alone is a beautiful space. So and we're coming a long way, and we've been here. But for me, I just wore the shirt, and whoever gravitated towards it, we spoke. You know what I'm saying? And it was appreciated, the conversations. That's that Aquarius in me, that revolutionary side. So I'm just like, I'm a rebel with a cause. Actually, that's an EP that I'm dropping soon.
It's a good plug.
Let me get that plug in there, man. I get that plug.
Yo, you know what you said though, that I think that's poignant, that we shouldn't gloss over, is that people receiving the information in their time when they're ready to receive the information. Like one of the things that I think that I realized probably over the last 3 years with everything going on and the world kind of, you know, slowing down, and you know, you see like all all these messages in terms of Black Lives Matter, and just all this dialogue that's now like at everybody's disposal when people are having these conversations, that there are people who I think that have taken a position in terms of we need to vibrate higher, we need to be doing all these other things, but they're not a demonstration themselves of that. Okay. Right? Like, so to me, it's like part of activism is actually being able to do something. Like we all could crack open a microphone, get on YouTube, you know, send a tweet and have performance activism, right? Just talk about, oh, this is what should be happening and this, that, or whatever, you know, like an armchair activist. But then there are the people that are actual doers that go out in the community and they do, and they walk the walk and they talk the talk, you know. So when you having a shirt like that, like that's a contribution to me to activism, because you're saying again, like, you know what, I'm interested in having this discussion and having this dialogue if you're receptive to it. You know, the easiest thing to do, I think, for people is to sit in their basement and complain about everything that's going on, you know, or have a million different ideas around how things should change, but do nothing about it. You know,
and have no idea where that change starts. I mean, you know, change starts with self. And really thinking about the science. I mean, evolution is the inevitable. So is what are you conditioning yourself to become? Right. I battle with that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a saint.
Nobody.
I battle with that. The old me to the new me, and the now me, and the me that I desire to become. Is a battle, but high vibrating, you know, still the body and the mind will follow. You know what I mean? Meditation instead of medication. There's a lot of things that was fed to us, you know, a way of living, what they taught us was to become civilized. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm just traveling the journey, man. You know,
you navigate more.
Yeah.
Clarissa says Martin Luther King and Malcolm X gave so Black women today can twerk at a parking lot and a young Black male can sell crack with his backside. His pants.
You're right,
Clarissa. I would hope that. Yeah, I don't know if that's what their intent was. You know, but somebody probably that's doing that may believe that they're vibrating higher. So we gotta, you know, I think as people we have to elevate, and I think we have to move beyond just the catchy slogans like oh, Black Lives Matter, vibrate higher, whatever it is, you know, and actually have activism, do things if you want to change.
First part of the word activism is act. It's an action word. And the first part of action is act.
It starts with you.
You gotta do that, man.
So to bring it back around to music real quick, I wanted to ask you in terms of this, because I feel like, again, like the vibe of your music is one of creativity and originality. How do we get back to a place where variety, you know, for variety, there's more variety again?
I think there's a lot of variety coming. If you look on Spotify, it's just finding it. I think that I don't know. You know, I got back into the game and I had all of this information, and you know, I would go to the studio at first and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't find that pocket. Like it was like I wanted to say so much, and I just couldn't find the balance between the two. And then just one day it clicked. It's like, if you really are paying attention, I would listen to certain records and it'd be like, yo, the beat is just hard. He's saying something, you know what I'm saying? And I just went towards that. And I mean, I'm like 2 years into recording. My catalog is at like 37 records right now. I only released 2 records so far. 2 records and 1 releasing on Sunday. So I just I think there's a lot of diversity within the genre. It's just, I mean, you just got to know what you want to hear. You know what I'm saying? And just go for it. And a lot of collaborations. You know, I'm shout out to Bookworm because I remember I was gonna do. They had asked me to ghostwrite for this artist. I won't mention their name, but because I didn't.
We must know him, huh?
They had
Tell us off camera. Tell us off camera.
It went viral on TikTok, and I spoke to my guy Bookworm, and I was like, yeah, they want me to ghostwrite for him, and he was like, are they light or dark? And I was like, what is he talking about? You know what I mean? And he was like, well, you know, and he's like 24 years old. He's a young dude. Boy, is a beast. And he was like, you know, it's two sides. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it's a dark side, you know, where they're doing all of the, you know, I don't want to say drill music. I want to say that certain type of music because I appreciate drill. And then you have the light side, the conscious. And I said, well, they're kind of dark. And he was like, you're sure you're going to be able to do that? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could write it. And then I thought about it and said, no, if I write it, then I'm not being responsible. I mean, there's a responsibility when you get in front of that mic, the responsibility when you write. You represent something. So, you know, that let me know right then and there, like, oh, so there is segregation within the genre. You know what I mean? It's like, that's crazy. I didn't actually realize that, you know what I mean? Because I came through decades of it. So
yeah. We got to figure out how do we get the variety into rotation though, and it's not the same 5 artists that we have to hear over and over again, or have labels trying to recreate the same artist. Like, remember there was a time where people were getting signed because they didn't sound like anybody.
Yeah, I
social media following, right?
Yeah, I mean, I come from an era where, I mean, Queens alone. I mean, you can name 5 artists out of Queens, legends that they don't sound alike at all. We prided ourselves on that. You know what I mean? Just to be different, be unique. Somebody's asking me, Alicia's asking, what's the one song every day I would, oh, Grateful. Yeah, that's a record I did probably like 12 years ago. That was a breakout record. That was a breakout record for me. That's actually where I decided to go light. That record is amazing that she's asking that. I decided to go light, and I wanted something different. And the record actually came from a producer from Germany, New Ra, and the guy was like, he sent me the record, and over there, their sounds are bright. This guy's sounds were bright, and I was like, what am I going to do to this? So I decided to, you know, start from my day, how my day, like I said earlier, I like to make records where I'm tricking you into it. I'm tricking you into the healing. I'm tricking you into, you know, I'm gonna manipulate you into understanding
a little coercion.
Yeah, man. And
I urge you to listen to this because it sounds so good.
And they don't even know why. You know, I have records I let people hear and they're like, yo, it's so hard, yo, and you didn't curse. I'm realizing you didn't curse, and they don't know why it's so hard, and it's because I'm passionate about it. You know what I'm saying? So the artists back then, we just different. You know, I wouldn't put myself up there with those guys, but I learned a lot from them. You know what I mean? Like, they definitely pioneered something great.
We come from a time of originality, man. It was something that we cherished, to be different from one another. And we were respected for it, even amongst our peers. A lot of us didn't have to become rappers, but, you know, a lot of us did. But even when we grew up amongst one another, nobody wanted to buy the same sneakers.
Right.
Nobody wanted to wear the same hat. People wanted to stand out. You know what I mean?
It was frowned upon to be sound like somebody else. That was a big deal. The labels used to actually go up and take and sign people that sounded like their artists and never put them out because they didn't want them to sound like their artists.
Right.
So
all of what you just explained, right? My question, I have 2 questions. First, what led you to high science or Morris science? How do you take that information and apply it to your music?
What led me out Islam led me there. I went from Christianity to damn near becoming an atheist. to
just the figuring out route. All the shit.
Yeah, man. I just started asking myself certain questions and being grateful to have the technology to just type in a question, and then it led me to Al Islam, which I was called to Islam. I wasn't I'm not one of those that just decided to become that. I went through like a body rapture, and it was amazing for me. The first words I spoke after that body rapture was Allah. And from there, I thought that that's what it was. I thought it was 5 prayers a day, learn Arabic, and this is my life now. Bump my head 5 times a day, right. And I might as well go get a camel. That's how I felt.
that's the religious part of it, but there's
I came out of that, and I was around some brothers when I was incarcerated. Some brothers that were 5%ers out of Virginia. Shout out to Reborn. Dope dude, man. He was my enlightener. And they just kept saying, when you gonna come and really understand the science? And I shunned him for a little while, but I had got an email from a friend of mine's out in Baltimore. And at first I didn't even know who it was. And it was like, oh, I've been looking for you, and you was speaking about a lot of knowledge of self in your music. And I was like, damn, that's crazy, because I just started studying. How was I?
Wow.
But I came from it. South Jamaica Queens we came from, 5% Nation. And I just I went from 5% Nation, and we didn't have a study class. When I was incarcerated, I created the class every Friday, and it was an exchange. So, some of the Moors would come into our class, and I was the one conducting that class. When they had their classes, I would come in, and I just would sit down and I'm listening to what they're talking about. And from there, when I got home, I had a brother that he was deep into more science. And he said on my old Facebook page, he said, "Do you know you put Noble at the front of your name?" And I don't even know why I did that. To this day, I'm like, I don't know what led me to do that then. You know what I'm saying? And he started telling me, yo, you was on to something. And he told me that he was a Moor, and he started feeding me books, and the Black Laws Dictionary. That's what took me there. Once I started really understanding the difference between legality and law, it kind of struck me, and understanding, how this whole thing was structured. And it just took me there. And I do it lightly, like in American Made, I do it lightly. I kind of feed them, I try to keep it still hip hop, and feed them lightly. You know what I'm saying?
Feed them like a baby, man. You can't give a baby steak.
Yeah, man. And representing it in a different way, because you have Moors that's in the temple, and then you have Moors that's outside of the temple, that's Khalifas. And it's not to say that we're not human. You know what I mean? You're human. You know what I'm saying? So I just try to keep it like that. And to be honest with you, I feel like hip hop is the truest religion. You know what I mean? It raised me. It raised me, and it raised a lot of us. Yeah.
They don't know what American Made is yet.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, tell them. You want to tell them what American Made?
That's coming.
Oh, this is the thing, right? So we sitting down, Shaw, me and you was building, bro. I was in your ear, yo. And you're telling me about the compilation, and I'm just like, word. I was like, that's dope, man. I hope success for it. So I posted on IG one of my sessions with Prime. Shout out to Optimus Prime and Baby Paul. I posted one of my sessions. I did an interlude with it's called Criterion Express. I got that from Minister Farrakhan, and it was just to represent Noble Drew Ali, because he doesn't get spoke about a lot.
Right.
He's the pioneer for a lot of that whole situation during the 30s, and he was here in the 1800s. But so I'm in the studio, and I posted it to my gram, and Shah just was like, yo, you doing this? Like, what's going on? Like, we need something for the compilation. So I'm like, I didn't know that I could have got on the compilation. And he was like, bro, inbox me. So we go in there. He was like, yo, call me tomorrow. I got some tracks. You put them out. And I'm like, all right. And because when he told me who was on the compilation, I'm like, yo, these are some names. Like, I don't know if I could, rub elbows with these guys. And especially Killer Priest. Like, I'm like, Killer Priest is a beast. So he sends the tracks, and I had the concept for a very long time, American Made, but it just wouldn't. It just wasn't the time for it, obviously.
Right.
It just poured out of me. I gave him 2 records. I gave him a dark record, and I gave him American Made. And I told him, I was like, yo, Sha, I sent them back to him. He was like, damn, you work mad fast. I'm like, yo, when you excited, and I was already in rhythm. So I just put it in with what I was already doing.
That's that Prince Paul magic, son.
Yeah, man. And because we come from that. Like I come from one takes. You know what I mean? I come from one takes. I come from having the record already laid out and knowing what you want to do before you get in there. And gratefully enough, I've been doing this for like 20 years, man, 30 years now. So it was easy for me to go in there and lay that record. And shout out to Baby Paul. That when you talk about mentors, I want to say that Baby Paul is my mentor. It was amazing because I sent him that record after I came out the studio, and I got fire emojis from him. That's the first time. It's the first time I got fire emojis from Baby Paul, and he said, "Yo, this is the best record I ever heard you do, lyrically, rhythmatically." He said, "You're there. You're in pocket." And I drove 2.5 hours like this. Yes. Yes! You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, man. That so American Made. I kind of like, I just, I'm not justifying. I never wanted to glorify the struggle or the streets. So that's what American Made is. That's what it is. Basically, letting them know that that we're a lot of us have been products of our environment, and we do have to get back to the De La Souls, the Black Thoughts. That whole native tongue vibe was just dope, man. That was a beautiful time to be alive. Even now is a great time to be alive. We just pushing the ball forward. You know what I mean? So, yeah, American Made. That's a great plug, man. I can't wait to get that record down.
American Made is the track that Salih did for the No Ideas original podcast compilation. And we also have in the building the producer right there, Jim Stars, who produced the record. So
he's in the building. I see you, kid.
I appreciate you for that track, man.
Yo, when you said American Made, I thought you was going Morris. Like, we've been here.
Yeah, I didn't. So that's what it is, right? I don't come outright. You know what I mean? I'm
like
not.
You said subtle. You said subtlety.
I'm keeping it subtle because you wanted to sound good. You wanted to sound good to them, right. And I mean, I've been in the studio trying to lay that record, and then I say certain things like I'm not black, and everybody in the studio, so you have to be careful. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody hands in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I tread lightly. Not that I'm afraid. You want to be here. You want to be here to represent what you represent, and you want to speak it. We have people that's pushing the envelope, and they still on that dynamic of things, and which I don't understand. I don't get it. There's a lot of information out here, and it starts with that Constitution. It starts with the Constitution. What else? Declaration of Independence. Just being able. How many people could really say that they read those documents and understood those documents
and related to themselves and the people
related to because it's a story. It's telling you exactly what they did here. You know what I mean? So that's what I did with American Made. I kind of made it, friendly to the listener, to where they could be like, yeah, don't blame me. I ain't bring the drugs here. Don't blame me. Right. I was raised this way. Hey, don't blame me. I ain't bring the drugs here. Don't blame me. I'm American made. So it makes them go, oh, word. I like that. And then you drop a little bit of the science within that.
Right.
You know, it's a blending, is a mixture. You give them like a little formula.
Like you still keeping the hip hop, still keeping the listeners because you want them to pay attention.
Right.
Yo, we glossed over this. I think we glossed over this, but Young asked this. He was saying registered your own tribe. You want to speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, man. And I'm actually working on a song right now. Shout out to Nick Wiz, called The Dawn. The name of my tribe is Al Falak. Is a surah within the Quran. I chose that because when I read the Quran, it kind of stuck out to me. What they talk about.
Circle 7 Quran or the regular Quran?
Excuse me?
The Circle 7 Quran?
Both.
Both. Okay.
But it came from the Quran.
Okay, cool.
But it came from the Quran. And I came across this surah and it stuck out to me, and I wanted my tribe to be protected from, all of these things are spells and it's a science.
Right.
And I just wanted them to be my guys and the women to be protected from what this surah was talking about, jealousy, envy, women that blow on knots, meaning witchcraft. And I wanted to protect them from that. So The Dawn is the name of the record. And I finally wrote the first verse for that record. And so yeah, the tribe I actually registered when I registered. So when you register your appellation, we don't consider it our name. Our appellation is like Salih Bey. And when I registered, I had to register a tribe because I'm saying like this is who we are and what we're a part of. And it's not to say that we're outside of government. We're here to assist.
Respect the government and all that.
Respect the government or said government. I mean, the power's in the people. So, I just, when I did that, I had to give them, my religious beliefs. And I chose that as my tribe. And when I was in probate court, they asked me, because I had sent the paperwork in a couple of times, and I'm grateful because it was during the pandemic, so they did it virtual. I don't remember that judge's name. I really do. I really would thank that lady because she asked me, "Are you who you say you are?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She was like, "So I'm just gonna grant you."
And that's the legalese of it, because they ask you questions waiting for you to respond in a certain way, and if you don't respond in a certain way, they may not give it to you, so they'll probably deny you. So yeah,
that was a blessing, man. The universe blessed me with that. She granted it, and that changed a lot of things. I'm still growing into this guy, though. You know what I mean? It's definitely a battle. Like I think I said in one of my records, "The world is a ghetto." I said jihad. Spiritual warfare is at large. So is introspection. We got to do that a lot. With ourselves is healing is an everyday process. You know what I'm saying? And this thing that we've been battling, they claim for 400 years or 300 years, is deeply embedded. So
narrative of it. Yes, sir.
Good looking out, Young, for the super chat.
So one thing I want to go back to, and listen, I see like an overall theme. Listen, like you, definitely socially aware and conscious of how you move now, and socially responsible in the way you do things. So I want to just talk about like how we talked about American Made just now. You submitted 2 songs, but then you came back to us and you made a conscious decision to say that you didn't want to do the other one.
Yeah, I was kind of. Shad felt it too because I was like ashamed. You know what I'm saying? I will say this: that record that you guys do have, that's outside. That's an actual occurrence. You understand? And but what I would say to people, artists, when you give those occurrences, you're actually keeping us within a paradigm. The same way they give us Black History Month. They're reminding us of what they want us to believe we are as a people. So yeah, after I listened to the record, and I got guys that love that record. You know, the Hood is the Hood. I think the name of the record is the Hood.
The Hood, yeah.
They love that record. Yo, it's hard, it's hard. And I was just like, yo, Sha, I was like, you know what American made, bro. And you know, you know, a lot of my following, they want to hear that guy. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to hear that guy, and I'm like, yo, bro, like, listen, like, we'll have some vintage beat. You know, I plan to do that. Actually, here's another plug for y'all. I plan to do for the 50-year anniversary. I plan to put out like all archived work. You know, a lot of mixtape work. I'm gonna put that out, so I can leave that alone and you know, move it forward. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, man, I definitely was like, you know
nah, not that one.
Not that one. Let's go with this one. He was like, yo, whatever you feel best with. I was like, thank you, yo. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, talk to us about your creative process. You know, what influences you to write? Because like I said, the turnaround, I've waited for a long time to get records from some people, but you, it was like, yo, got it. Yo, you sent the clips over. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah, I was like, and he sent them over already. I just gave them to him the other day.
Yeah, man. My creative process is basically, I listen to a record, or I'll sort out a producer that I want to work with, and I'll let him in on who I am. And most of the time I go off of, because they say that producers see in color when they produce, and they already have a feel. So most of the time I'm gonna go off the title of what the producer names the track. Once they name the track, it's like, okay, what's my perception? What's my perspective on that? Like, what do I see? And I'll write it from there. You know, like I got records where the hook might sound like this, but I'm writing from an abstract space. So, you know, my creative process, my process is like, you turn the beat on. I mean, I just did a record called Full Circle. It's a crazy record. I'm not even ready for it yet. I wrote the record in like 20 minutes tops. And I know that it's going to be a great record because my leg kept moving. Like I stood up the whole time writing the record, and I'm like performing it. You know, I can see, because now I'm getting into visual now.
Yeah.
I can see the video. I can see what I'm saying.
You already manifesting it, bro.
Yeah, bro. So my creative process is either the hook is gonna come or the verse is gonna come. Most of the time, the verse comes. The verse comes, and then the hook comes after it, and then I'll stop. I'll do one verse, a hook, and then I'll stop. I'll leave it alone. And you know, people have asked me, like my producer, finish the record, Sa, finish the record. I can hear. Shout out to Kiyako. That's my partner and producer for More Than Life Productions. Dope guy, man. But he'll tell me to finish the record, and I like them. I like to let the record marinate. You know what I mean? So I'm a solo artist, so it's like I don't want my first verse to sound. I don't want my second verse to sound like my first verse. So I'll wait a couple of weeks. You know, intentionally. I might go in and record the first verse in the hook and listen to it 1,000 times over and over and over again. Yeah. Figure out what I don't like about it. You know, because that's my job, to figure out what I don't like. You know what I mean? And from there, when the record, I held the record. I held the record for almost a year. I actually did the first verse and then the hook and just held it for a year until it told me, like, I don't know, it's just something that wakes up and it's like, yo, it's time to do this record. You know, you never know. You know, you just have to be ready. You know, opportunity, meeting, preparation is the measure to success. Anytime an artist creates a record, he's successful. You know what I mean? Because you created something and you're giving towards sound and light. Is your contribution. So
as the gods would say, you're the maker and the owner, man. That's your creation.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's really it for me. It's crazy because I don't have writer's block, but I'll block myself from writing. You know what I mean? Because I have to experience. You know what I mean? You have to experience life. You know what I mean? So
yeah, when you retain a lot of information, it can get clouded a little bit too.
Yeah, you know, I wanna mention something to you guys, right? I had the record Been So High, and I didn't think the record would take as far as the hood is concerned. One night I had went out in Harlem, and I was introduced to some brothers. They out in the streets for real, and it was crazy, man. It's very symbolic to us as a people, man. The kid was a gangbanger. He's a Crip, and they introduced me to him, and we was talking, and turn around, I meet an African guy. He's a hustler. He speaks English, and we're on this block. And they're running up and down the block, they're doing whatever, and I'm with my peoples, we drinking, having a good time. And they walk up to me with this guy. He has this guy grabbed by his collar, an African that doesn't speak English, right? And the Crip dude is like, yo, I'm gonna cut this dude. And I'm like, yo, chill out. Yo, relax. And one of my guys was like, yo, leave that alone. That's their business. And I'm like, yo, you introduced me to this guy. What are you talking about? He was like, yo, just leave it alone. Do you see me interfering with that? And I listened to him, and I shouldn't have. I regret that. And probably like 15 minutes later, they still got this guy grabbed up, and they cut him.
Damn.
They cut him, and I zapped. I just went, what are you doing? I start cursing, and the kid looked at me, and I was like, yo, I need to talk to you, yo. And I was playing mentally with him. I was like, but if I talk to you, you gonna cut me? You know, I kept saying that to him, and he was like, yo, I would never do that to you. I don't know this kid. And so me and the guys talking, we talking, and you know, I played Been So High. Yo, the kid, after listening to the record, he started he's like, yo, I'm gonna figure out a dance for you.
That's dope.
And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you know, but I identified that the African guy that was hip, he spoke the language of the African guy that didn't speak English. He could have mediated that whole situation.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And I couldn't understand it. And he ended up listening to the record and started like, yeah, we need to make a dance for this. And then it was like, yo, you need to put this out. I had no music out at the time. I was playing naive. Well, how do you put music out? I'm asking them questions like that. Yo, you do this. They're showing me. You know what I mean? They're showing me. Yo, you put it on YouTube and everybody can hear it. Spotify is a way to do it. You need to research that. So they was really behind me. You know what I'm saying?
Passionate about telling me.
They was passionate about telling me. And you know, the last time I was around them, I told them, I was like, yo, look. And I pulled it up on Apple Music, and they was like, yo, you did it. They was happy. You know what I mean? So that kind of answers the question of, how do we get it back to that? How do we get back to happy music? You make the music and you represent it. And me being doubtful of that, I was doubtful. I kid you not. I was really doubtful. And to see that happen, I mean, this guy was bleeding. To see me be able to, my record, to turn that around and my presence being there, I'm grateful for situations like that and experiences. So
I think that record, I like that record too. I also like it because I think it has a real cross appeal. It's not. It's for many genres. It's even for kids under the age of 15. For some reason, when I heard that, I'm like, you hear this shit in the stadium, but then I can hear some kids singing it.
Yeah.
Melodically, I was thinking that like this ain't just a genre. This is a wide genre song.
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
That's what I was going to ask you. Where were you going with that?
I mean, I did a lot of mixtape work. I did a lot of street music, and you know, you'll see it on my Instagram where Baby Paul is talking about the music that I did 10, 12 years ago. He said that I was reaching heights of 50.
The Bay Area.
But my music was, but I had a certain style, and I could have furthered my career there. And when I got back in the studio, it was just like, I want to be able to do the Super Bowl. I want to be able to do New Year's.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I want to be able to do records where is accepted by the public, across the board. So that was my. A lot of people were shocked, but I stuck with it. I got some great records out of Pleasant, man. He gave me some great records. He understood the direction, and he was already doing feel good music. Shout out the Roxy Project. And that just catapulted me. It just made me go, I like this zone. You know what I mean? I like this.
Yeah. You know something, what you have that a lot of artists don't have? You're not risk adverse. Yeah. Right. I think to me, I feel like that what happens with especially the genre of hip hop, there are a lot of artists that are risk adverse. Like they're very fearful of taking a risk that they kind of get pigeonholed.
I'm not gonna hold you.
No, listen where I'm going with this. Listen where I'm going with this.
I fight it, bro. I fight it, but I'm scared.
But listen, but you know what? You fight it. You may be scared, but you're willing to actually take the risk. And the reason with the willingness and desire to take the risk, that's what's gonna catapult your career, because the music you're making is not gonna only play in the ears for the hood. You want to be embraced cross genre. You want to have feel good music. You want to have music that people in the hood could listen to, and it could prevent a conflict, like what you said, because you touched that demographic. But then also somebody could be at Dubai and play your music for a wedding. We high call it as for some reason this genre, when people are risk adverse, they get boxed in, and then after a while their music becomes stale and dated. And people, the sad thing is, as consumers, we'll put people in that box and tell them like, nah, that don't sound like your work, your old work. I want you to make your old work. Then after a while, we be like, yo, damn, this dude keep making the same song over and over again. Right. Or yo, his style ain't changed, or he got the same flow, or whatever it is. So I believe it's really difficult for artists to feel comfortable with taking risks, because they potentially may take a risk, and then if it's not embraced by the familiar people, like if it's not embraced in the hood, they believe, it failed.
Feel like a failure.
But is your target audience only the people in the hood? You get what I'm saying? Like our target audience got to be bigger than just the people that we grew up around. We got to be able to actually, get to the point where we not only touching the people that we can physically touch, but the people that's thousands and thousands of miles away from us that can actually be influenced by the music.
Right. I think
tell people, man, stop singing for your homies, man.
Yeah, I think I've been past that. I don't think any of my peers listen to my music. I'm a long way from that. I'm misunderstood most of the time. So I don't get the support from peers as far as that's concerned. You guys are my peers now. And I'm grateful for that, because we're in the same business. And that's another thing. You outgrow situations. So I don't. My thing is, I just want to reach the hearts and minds. That's it. And it keeps me sane. You know what I mean? If I could do this all day and be in the studio all day, I would do that. You know what I mean? So that's
how you could tell how profound risk is. Think about how many artists that have had hit records that they say, yo, I hate that record. Such and such had to sell me on doing that record. Right? I hear that with so many songs, and I'm like, how could you not believe, understand, or feel that that's a hit record? But it's just like that, bro. And that's how it be, right? And you have somebody else that come along and tell you like, nah, that's the record. You be like, nah, that record's terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy. We just did a record. I think I don't know when we released it. It's called Awk Wizard, and that record. Oh my god! I mean, I can't stand the record, but we got fire emojis. You know what I'm saying? I can't stand the record, but it stands up. It's a great record. So you guys will hear that record soon. I'm just pacing myself single wise, and I don't really listen to, like, I listen to music maybe when I'm in the car or somebody will play something. If it makes sense to me, I'll listen to it. I think like one record that's just amazing to me is that Uzi Vert record. It's an unbelievable record to me. I don't know. I don't know the
Body
name.
Yeah, body, yeah.
No, that record is crazy. It's crazy.
Taking off, bro. That's just everywhere, man. It's a
Yeah,
TikTok.
man.
It's a TikTok fucking 10 diamonds, platinum.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The sound is crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's definitely crazy. That's one of my favorite records right now, unbelievably.
And again, the artistry, the ability to create and take risks, you know, because what little Uzi Vert, we're from Philly.
Yeah.
He from Philly, so he could have been out there on his freeway, Meek Mill, Young Chris, Cassidy joint or whatever. But here it is, he's making music that he wants to make, and he's comfortable making that music, and that music is successful.
Right. You got the whole planet doing this shit.
Right.
Yeah, Rob know the TikTok dance.
Yeah, he got
I got daughters.
How you do that?
My daughters is in the mirror all the time. And
oh man. Yo, before we let you dip, tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the radio station.
I'm basically sitting on other people's shows as a personality, just give my intake on things, whatever the concept is, like whatever they're talking about, the subject matter. I give them the aspect of, you know, my walk in life. It's like TP. Shout out to Terry Polite. That's one of the owners. Shout out to Rudd, Kenneth Rudd. Those are the owners of the station. They gave me the opportunity to just, you know, I knew these guys since I started music, my inception. And I just called up there one day and they just was like, yo, come through. I got up there, they gave me the headphones and was like, yo, you're on the air today. And it was like, what? He was like, yeah, don't worry, we just having a conversation. And you know, so I kind of messed with it. And I think they was setting me up, bro. Like maybe once I got in front of that mic, once I got in front of the mic, and then after that, we went to one of Cardi B's studios in Long Island. And we did drops. Actually, we did drops. And when I went in the booth, they knew it though. I'm telling you, to this day, they knew it. And you'll see that on my IG. I think that's the very first post out. That's the first time I was in the studio after years. And I don't know how we got to the point where we was talking about me spitting bars. And he was just like, just let him hear something. And I was like, for real? So I just went in my head and spit something, and it just became something. So, you know, Genesis is where it all begins. We just try to have good content and bring music to the table from different artists, independent artists, business owners, whatever, you know what I mean? Nonprofit organizations. We just try to, you know, we're building a podcast as well. We have 2 studios up there now. So I'm just like the one that's like, I'm freelancing up there. You know, I'll sit in on a show. I think I have a show next Thursday up there. Shout out to DJ Strategy. So I'm just like, what happened now is they let me loose. So now I'm in the field. I'm more, you know, the production company, executive producing projects. Let's go to Florida and get in on this project. Let's go to PA, get in on this project. So I'm moving around, and those are my mentors too. You know, I tap back in with them and they let me know on a daily basis, this is what you need to do. This is what you shouldn't do. Good work for this. You know, so I'm just, you know, they just are grooming me. I never thought that I would be be a radio personality, but I get more people who call me more to life than Salih Bey. So which is good. But you know, it's cool. So, you know, I'm just working it, man. There's nothing etched in stone. I'm not just in one space, and it's been working, you know what I mean? So
that's what's up. Yo, so plug whatever you want to plug before we dip. Yo, I appreciate you again for agreeing to do this. And I feel like, yo, this is something you manifested, because I always go back to when we had that conversation. You're like, yeah, yo, I see myself coming up there on the podcast. I'm like, word, all right.
Yeah, man.
We are, yo. So that's dope to me. But go ahead, plug whatever project you want to plug. You want to talk about the station? Go ahead, it's your time.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Once again, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Basically, I want to plug More to Life Productions. We got a monstrous crew. I would just want to shout out my crew, man. Kiyako Perry, Danger, Born Crisis, Mad Villain, Knock Leon, Jamaica Terry. I mean, the list goes on, man. I got a beautiful team, Bookworm, Uptown Wiz. You know, yeah, back to lyricism. Jamaica's on here now. You know, shout you guys out, man. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to express. Genesis Radio, of course. We got a list of DJs over there. The projects that'll be released, like I said, we got Rebel with a Cause that'll be dropping soon next quarter. Check out Black Rage Sunday, that'll be dropping on all platforms. Yeah, Been So High is still circulating. We still doing numbers with that. We got a video coming for that in Segue with Cakewalk. Shout out to Baby Paul. Shout out DJ Mr. Effects. Shout out Cutmaster C. You know what I mean? These are my guys. They're on the forefront with me. Salih Bey, More to Life. You can catch me. You see the tag. You can catch me on IG. And let's just tap in with each other, man. There's some work to be done. And I'm all for the work and curating. So that's
Islam, brother. Islam.
Yo, thank you everybody tonight for pulling up and joining us for the No Ideas original podcast. We'll catch you on the next one. Salute everybody. Have a good night.
All right.